The Riverside Animal Shelter had seen its share of difficult cases, but Shadow was different. The massive black German Shepherd had been returned 3 times, each adoption ending in failure. His kennel bore warning signs in bold red letters, and even the most experienced handlers approached him with caution. Shadow's growls echoed through the concrete corridors, a symphony of rage that had earned him a reputation as unadoptable. Dr. Sarah Chen, the shelter's veterinarian, had recommended euthanasia twice. The board had voted against it both times, but everyone knew Shadow was running out of chances. His aggression stemmed from unknown trauma, a past so dark that it had transformed a noble creature into something feral and untouchable. Emma Cole arrived at the shelter on a Tuesday morning, her wheelchair gliding smoothly across the freshly mopped floors. At 15, she had spent the last 2 years adapting to life after the accident that had severed her spinal cord. Her parents, Michael and Janet Cole, followed behind, their faces carrying the weight of hope mixed with resignation. They had tried everything to bring light back into their daughter's eyes, and this visit was another desperate attempt. "We're looking for a companion animal," Janet explained to the shelter coordinator, Lisa Martinez. "Something gentle, patient? Emma needs a friend." Lisa nodded sympathetically, already mentally cataloging the perfect candidates. There was Buttercup, a golden retriever with the temperament of a saint, or perhaps Chester, the lazy tabby cat who did nothing but purr. She began leading the family toward the family-friendly section when Emma's wheelchair stopped abruptly. "What's down there?" Emma asked, pointing toward the isolated corridor where Shadow's kennel stood alone. "Oh, that's our special needs area," Lisa said carefully. "Dogs that require experienced handlers. Nothing you'd be interested in, sweetheart." But Emma was already moving, her electric wheelchair humming down the forbidden hallway. Her parents exchanged worried glances and hurried after her, Lisa trailing behind with increasing alarm. Shadow's kennel was at the end, separated from the others by extra space and additional barriers. The moment Emma's wheelchair came into view, the massive dog launched himself at the fence, teeth bared, a roar erupting from his throat that made everyone freeze. Everyone except Emma. She rolled closer, stopping just outside the danger zone marked on the floor. Shadow's attack intensified, his claws scraping against the metal, his eyes wild with fury. The shelter's alarm system detected the commotion, and within seconds, 3 staff members arrived with restraint poles and protective gear. "Emma, please step back," her father shouted, reaching for her wheelchair. But Emma raised her hand, her eyes never leaving Shadow's. And then she did something that defied all logic and protocol. She began to sing. Her voice was soft at first, a lullaby her grandmother had sung to her during those dark nights in the hospital. The melody was ancient, wordless, a sound that seemed to bypass the rational mind and speak directly to something deeper. Shadow's barking faltered, his massive head tilted slightly, confusion replacing rage in his amber eyes. Emma continued, her voice growing stronger. She didn't move her wheelchair forward, didn't reach toward him or make any threatening gestures. She simply sang, offering nothing but her voice and her presence. Minutes passed. The shelter staff stood frozen, afraid to interrupt whatever strange magic was unfolding. Shadow's growls diminished to whimpers, then to silence. Slowly, impossibly, the great beast lowered himself to the ground, his massive head resting on his paws, his eyes fixed on the girl in the wheelchair. When Emma finally stopped singing, the silence was profound. "Can I go in?" she asked. "Absolutely not," Dr. Chen said, arriving just in time to witness the impossible. "Emma, that dog is dangerous. He's bitten 4 people. He won't bite me," Emma said with quiet certainty. What happened next would become shelter legend. Against every protocol, every rule, every instinct screaming danger, Lisa found herself opening Shadow's kennel door. Emma rolled inside and Shadow remained motionless, watching her approach. When she was close enough, Emma extended her hand. Shadow lifted his massive head and placed his nose against her palm. His tail, which no one had ever seen wag, moved slowly back and forth. "You're not angry," Emma whispered. "You're scared, just like me." Tears began streaming down faces around the kennel. Michael Cole, who hadn't cried since the accident, found himself sobbing openly. Janet pressed her hand to her mouth, unable to speak. Emma ran her fingers through Shadow's coarse fur, and the dog that had been deemed unadoptable leaned into her touch with a gentleness that contradicted everything in his file. She understood him in a way no one else had, because she knew what it meant to be trapped, to be judged by limitations rather than potential, to be feared for circumstances beyond her control. Over the following weeks, Emma and Shadow became inseparable. The shelter waived all adoption fees and requirements. Shadow, who had been scheduled for his final evaluation, found himself living in the Cole household. His aggression disappeared entirely, replaced by an almost supernatural gentleness around Emma. He learned to position himself beside her wheelchair, became her shadow in both name and function, alert to her needs before she voiced them. Dr. Chen wrote a paper on the case that would be published in veterinary journals worldwide. Lisa started a program pairing difficult animals with children facing physical challenges. The Riverside shelter's euthanasia rates dropped by 40%. But the real miracle wasn't documented in any journal. It was visible in Emma's eyes, which had rediscovered their light. It was present in Shadow's transformation from monster to guardian. It was the proof that sometimes the broken find each other not despite their damage, but because of it. Two souls, both trapped in bodies that others feared or pitied, had recognized in each other something the world had missed. Not limitation, but unlimited possibility. Not endings, but beginnings. And in that recognition, both found their way home.